Welcome to the operations of marketing. If we're honest with ourselves, this is kind of what we expect. And to be clear, it's what we marketers expect marketing to be. It's how we'd really like to think we operate. But interestingly, it's not now the perception of marketing that many executives have. According to a relatively recent study by consulting firm McKinsey, CEOs actually have a newfound respect for the operations of marketing as a driver of growth. In their minds, marketing is no longer simply the place where fantastical ideas are tried out, nobody ever has a bad idea, and everybody's idea gets put up on the refrigerator with a note saying how wonderful it is, and instead looks a little more like this. Marketing as a factory of ideas, a place where once we figure out a way to mass produce something, well, we can replicate it 1,000,000 times and simply create an algorithm to scalability and growth. As one former CEO in the McKinsey research was quoted as saying, the CMO used to work in a world very different from the rest of the executives. Marketing was more of a craft, not as measurable. Data has changed how the C-suite is interacting with marketing now. It's very hard to separate the company strategy from the marketing strategy. So, which one should it be? Well, the answer is, of course, it's probably some kind of balance of both. But how do we know how to balance this operation? You can't stop it to look. In order to understand any process, you have to move with it. You have to join with it and introduce new things into that process. And that is what makes the art and science of marketing operations one of the most important parts of a successful marketing strategy. And now that the creation, production, and activation of content is at the heart of marketing, well, it means that the new idea of content operations is at the heart of marketing operations. Getting it right means we get to act like this and produce this, the art and science of marketing. Welcome to episode 5 of Marketing Makers, the series for those that make marketing work. I'm Robert Rose, and I'm your host. And whether you're an independent consultant, a director at a Fortune 100, or a newly appointed CMO, we're all marketing makers. And this month, we're talking about the magic of making content work in a business. In a word, operations. The balance of how we put people, processes, and technology together to make sure we're not just saying creative things, but saying them in a way that communicates effectively. So let's get things started, and to do that, I need to get up to our Marketing Makers Lab where we can get things underway. Welcome to Marketing Makers. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. I've got my accountant hat on here, and my finance is, well, I'm not good at math. Welcome to the Marketing Makers Lab. It's here that we explore in depth the background behind some of marketing's historical concepts and how they've evolved into some of today's most modern of approaches. And today, well, you can see I'm just confused. I was trying to figure out how to make this advertising number the equal of number of hours that I'm going to spend and how much the agency's cost is going to figure. You know what? This new technology and all that stuff, I'm hoping something can help me here. Got all that? It's a mess. So what I really need someone who's smart about the structure of all the teams that I have to do the research into our markets, figure out the right workflows, the processes, the measurement strategy, all that easy stuff that we have in marketing. Well, as it turns out, there's a whole function of marketing that does all of that, and it's called marketing operations. Now, you might be saying to yourself, isn't that just marketing? I mean, is that really a separate thing? Well, For many of you, it might not be a separate thing. I mean, really, if you think about it, marketing operations is just, well, how the function of marketing operates. So inherently, even if the only thing I do as a marketer is create content for my blog and buy search ads, aren't I doing marketing operations? Well, the answer to that is a qualified yes. But for many larger organizations, marketing operations is a full-fledged and important aspect of how marketing departments work. Now, the idea of creating a function within the marketing department to handle the financial aspects of engaging with agencies, helping with the accounting, along with the project management, the assistance with helping to build the infrastructure, well, it's been around since marketing departments started. But the concept really grew inside of businesses starting in the 1950s and 1960s. It was then that the whole idea of marketing science began to become popular, and the perception of marketing really began to change and tilt more toward that science. In fact, the Marketing Science Institute was established in 1961, and it began to develop a number of new, highly scientific tools such as multidimensional scaling and stochastic modeling and causal modeling and decision calculus marketing. And if you've got no idea what any of those things are, if all those things sound a little weird and a little, like eggheady and weird, well, because they are, and they were at the time. But it's evolved. And beyond adding sophisticated analysis and marketing research, this trend of marketing science really got its legs underneath it in the 1970s and 1980s. And the concept of profiling customers or developing much deeper research into markets, well, that became a big thing. And it was at this point that marketing departments in business began building their own teams, who would not only handle some of the research projects, but some of the more complex financial analysis into the ongoing development of computer technology within the marketing department. And this became known as modern marketing operations. In those days, marketing operations was really all about how to operate most efficiently. It helped build marketing strategy with metrics and measurement and business processes and best practices and budgeting and ongoing research to develop the best creative and media strategy. But then it morphed again. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, as the digital age began to come around, well, this new trend swept the idea of marketing, and it was called CRM, Customer Relationship Management. Now, CRM, or Customer Relationship Management, was truly the offspring of what was called database marketing back in the 1980s. Now, businesses could track what was purchased, who purchased it, and also could begin to automate some of the messaging that might come from those purchases. Customer Relationship Management. This transformed marketing operations again into a completely new idea, where marketing operations would now start to utilize technology to not only manage financial analysis, but also the more complex technology and workflow aspects of this new automated digital approach to marketing. And this gave birth to a new type of enterprise technology tool called Marketing Resource Management, or MRM system. Now, if you can imagine, in the early 2000s, MRM software was very big and very popular. The core foundation of MRM was workflow. How do we make marketing operations more efficient? But of course, and this may come as a surprise to many of you, that these technologies we use and take for granted today, they were born out of this whole MRM idea. That's right, the early MRM systems were not only workflow systems that enabled things like marketing calendars and resources to be assigned to tasks, but also financial systems and the management of digital assets and the ability to take digital content and publish it and print it and email it on demand. Then they began to take on other tasks, such as automatically sending email based on triggers as purchases or sign up to loyalty events. Doesn't that sound a little familiar? Well, that's right. The MRM systems of the early 2000s performed many of the same functions as today's workflow systems, digital asset management systems, marketing automation, even content management systems. So what happened? Well, in a word, content happened, and specifically digital content. As the 2000s kicked into high gear here, we started to see websites, blogs, landing pages, emails, social media, mobile technologies, and all of these content-driven marketing experiences driving the marketing departments. These technologies began to separate out into their own as well. We saw the meteoric rise of marketing automation because marketing operations needed a better way to manage the email channel. We saw the rise of web content management to manage big and complex websites. We saw digital asset management rise to the core way we manage all these digital files that marketing was creating. And so there was a split. Marketing operations began to more and more focus on the resources, the financial analysis, and the overall research-focused areas of the marketing operations. And the content tools, well, they began to create multiple silos in the business. In some ways, they became the department that we now know as digital marketing. And in some companies, they became the web team or the digital technology team. And to this day, we still see many of these splits occurring. But change is starting to happen. As content marketing and content strategy has become a much more strategic operational function within businesses, we're seeing the growth of a new breed of marketing operations. It is content operations. In today's digital world, without a superior customer experience, there is no product. Sitecore is the only digital experience company that brings together content, commerce, and data into one connected platform for brands and delivers millions of connected digital experiences every day. Start creating more human connections with your customers through a digital experience with end-to-end content, seamless e-commerce, and continuous personalization.